Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. And as we always do, we love to start these things with making a connection with you. So do us a huge favor, because I'm not all about just being simply a talking head. I know there's plenty of people who are more than willing to just be talking heads on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, but I actually want to engage with you. So what I'd love for you to do is to pop in the chat, say hello, tell us where you're joining us from, tell us one thing that you're excited about, or maybe what you're hoping to really gain from today. That would be awesome. There's Michelle's in the room. She is joining us from North Carolina. Hey, Michelle, how's it going? Anybody else that'd like to say hello, just jump in on the chat, whether you are on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're joining us from. Also, you guys who are on Instagram, who are watching on this, if you want the full screen version, just click into our profile link and you can be taken to the YouTube link on it if you want like the full version of whatever we're doing on here as well. So anybody else that would like to say hello? We've been in a really important series, and so I'm going to give everybody just a few seconds to be able to get in the room and say hello. There's Joanna, who's joining us from Bayside. How's it going? Michelle says, I am excited to be here and free my schedule for Monday evenings. And here is Rochelle, who's joining us from Texas. And by way of just talking to you, you guys who are joining us regularly, we are actually thinking about switching back to our time that we used to be, which is 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Central, and 1:30 Eastern. Tell me, do you like the late evening stuff, or do you like the morning, early afternoon stuff? What would actually work? Can you do either one, or does it matter to you? Let us know about that as well. Rochelle is joining us from Texas. Welcome, Rochelle. Anybody else that would like to say hello? We're just saying hello to everybody. And do us a huge favor. If you're finding that these Mentor Mondays are beneficial to us, to you, do us a huge favor. Hit the like button. Also share this and comment, because what you're going to find is that a lot of the stuff that I'm actually covering during this series applies to a lot of different people, regardless if you're a coach or not. That would be great. Thank you. So Michelle says, I like late. Okay, we got it, Michelle. Awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump into what we are talking about today. And we have been on this series called Bad Money Beliefs That Keep You Broke. And one of the bad money beliefs that I see that's popping up, and it plagues coaches all the time, not just new coaches. Matter of fact, for some of you veteran coaches who are in the room, or some of you coaches who got certified a couple of years ago from wherever, let me say this, is that I have met coaches through the years. I was a coach when I started out, and I had no idea how to do business or any of those other things. And I was going through all of the trainings, and I still believe in continuing education. I will still go to training and everything else. I will find coaches who have supposedly been in the game for years that still do not have clients and still have hangups because of this. And this is one of the big reasons why people have hangups and don't have clients, is actually what they believe about themselves, what they believe about work, what they believe about their calling and purpose, and all these things. And that's why we're dealing with this. If you've never joined us for one of these, let me just remind you of how we actually get here with regard to belief systems. Any belief system that you have in your life that is not actually helping you get towards where your goal is. And let me see if I can write on this just really quickly, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Whoops, I had it for a second there, and I keep closing it up. We'll just take red here. That's fine. So really, if we have a goal, if we want to say, here's our destiny, if we want to say, here's what our goal is, whatever you want to call it, this is where we're driving at, right? This is where we are trying to get. And if we have any kind of what we would call a limiting belief, and when we say limiting belief, it's anything. A limiting belief is anything, because here's your destiny, here's your goal. Matter of fact, not just your destiny and your goal, but it is who you want to be in the future. This is the future you. This is who you dream to be. It's who you aspire to be. A limiting belief is anything that takes away your resources, your ability to get there. And so essentially what we have not just our clients, but we have ourselves trying to get towards our goal. But we have something that is in the way. And it's a limiting belief because it's stealing your resources. It's keeping you from being able to maximize your potential. There's a lot of things that limiting beliefs can be, but essentially what it is, it's a place that ends up stopping people. And what ends up happening is that people start camping right here. This is like where they stop and they literally will just camp out at this place and they will cycle. And here's the reality is that if you have a limiting belief specifically about money, it's going to keep creeping up and it's going to keep you from being able to move forward because until you deal with it, until you change, until you have a new belief or a new thought. And here's the thing is that if your thinking is not serving you, and some of you've been served in your thinking, it's gotten you to the place where you are at right now. And some of that stuff has been good, but some of us those thoughts don't really serve us anymore. Or at least they create a wedge between where we are and where we really want to be. Problem with these things, and the reason why someone would even be camped out here is that there's some real options that are there that are available for us in the sense of the option to take up myself out of the game, the option to not deal with rejection, to not deal with my fears or my insecurities or whatever. And so this ends up being a really comfortable place actually for most people, because rather than actually overcoming the belief, it's a lot easier to say, well, this is true about me. This is true about my situation, because then I can take myself out of the game. I don't have to take ownership. I don't have to take responsibility. But for those of you who actually want to get to your goal and you want to deal with these limiting beliefs, well, here's really essentially all we have to do. All we have to do is we have to bring a wrecking ball to what the limiting belief actually is. And the wrecking ball is this right here. It's doubt. It's when something is spoken in opposition, in convincing opposition to whatever is going on there. And all we really have to do to knock it out is simply have a doubt that starts chipping away at the limiting belief so that now we've got breakthrough. That's what breakthrough is. It's whatever we believed before. I have an aha moment and it can start chipping away. And if it's a big enough doubt, or if it's enough doubt, if it's weighty enough, it can clean that thing out really, really quickly. Like, we don't have to sit around for the rest of our lives if we know what limiting belief we're going after. And if we introduce enough doubt to it, we can start chipping it away. But then we go after establishing new thoughts, new beliefs, because your behavior is always going to follow what you really think, what you really believe. See, what we've done for most of our lives is that we keep trying to correct behavior. Behavior's the overflow of what you believe. If you don't change what you think, your behavior is going to end up aligning with what you think every time. And maybe you can fake it for about 30 days or 90 days, and you can force yourself to go to the gym and force yourself and strain through certain things, but you're not going to have any long-term change. The weight is going to come back, whatever the weight is in your life. Not just talking about weight on your body, but whatever is going on in your life, it's going to keep making a reappearance, because if you believe it about yourself, it's going to continue to plague you. So today we're talking about this particular limiting belief. And this particular limiting belief is one that I think is extraordinarily common for coaches. And it's this whole idea that no one wants to pay me for coaching. And you know what? It might be said in a couple of different ways. A lot of coaches might say, well, no one wants to pay for coaching. There's plenty of people who want to be coached and they want to be helped, but no one wants to pay for it. And I'm kind of like, well, exactly where does this come from? Like, where does this thinking come from? And what I said just like last week, and we'll actually do it again, is that I think that really where our thoughts come from in many cases comes from experiences that we've had. Like we have something that happens in our life, and what happens after that is that there's a bias that happens after that for the rest of your life, that you are looking to be proven right about whatever is going on. I've heard it said that people would rather be right than to be happy. I was literally hanging out yesterday. I was hanging out with a coach locally. We had our families together and we were at the beach and we were talking about this. And she was talking about the fact that there is literally a dopamine. There's literally a dopamine released. Basically what you're getting is that you're getting a high out of the fact that you were proven right in something. So even if it's painful for you, that you're waiting to whatever is going on in your life, you're waiting for something to validate that what you already believe, and that there's literally like a rush that's happening to your brain when you're proven right. It's a crazy kind of thing. It's almost like an addiction to simply being right, but being right, or at least I wouldn't say being right, more or less what I'd really be saying, whatever you think is confirming your bias does not mean that it's actually helping you get what you really in your heart of hearts want. And so what we really have to do is we have to break down the story that people are telling. What's the story that someone is talking about? No one wants to pay me for coaching. And there's usually something that happens, but there's actually an underlying real problem that is going on. So if somebody says, well, here's the fact that happened, and they're so certain of this. And so somebody might say, who says, no one wants to pay me for coaching. A lot of times you'll say, well, who's talking about that they wouldn't pay you for coaching? And you know what a lot of times they'll say? I talked to friends. I talked to family, or I talked to whoever. And you know what we talked about? We talked about how much coaching costs, because how much does coaching cost? The average first-year coach in the United States is charging, first-year certified coach is charging between $118 to $128 per session. And that is a lot more than what most people are making per hour, right? Because what is the median income in the United States? It's pretty low. It's definitely below $30 an hour in the United States right now. So what people will say is, well, I talked to friends and family or fill in the blank about it and about how much coaches make. And they said, well, I would never pay that much for coaching. And so what they're doing, if they actually had this conversation, because the reality is that most people have never actually had this conversation, but I'll get to that in a second. For the people those of you who have talked to friends, family, and you said how much coaching would cost, and they said, oh, well, I would never pay that much for a coach. I couldn't imagine sitting down with someone and paying that much money. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you the real problem is. You know what the real problem is? Is that the real problem isn't how much coaching costs. The real problem is that these people do not want change. Now, listen, I'm not saying anything bad about your friends and family and your coworkers or whoever is in the fill in the blank on this thing. But here's what we would say is true. Change is hard, and some people are really great people, but they don't want anything more. They're just content where they're at. Now, they're not bad people, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but plenty of people are content. Now, here's the thing about friends, family, and those people that we could fill in the blank. They wouldn't pay you $118 to $128 per session. I know that. They wouldn't pay me hundreds or $1,000 a session either. And here's what I will also tell you. Like right now, coaching is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are billions of dollars being spent on coaches right now. So obviously, coaches who are out there in the market are making a lot of money and they're helping a lot of people. But I'll give you just a for instance, like Tony Robbins. He's worth over $500 million. Now, I have some friends of mine that went to a Date with Destiny thing, like about a year ago or something like that. If you go to a Date with Destiny costs thousands of dollars to go and spend a weekend at a Tony Robbins kind of deal. Now, the thing is that they'll spend a weekend there, but then it was a couple. So basically it's costing them double. And here's what's true of them. They weren't like people who were making bank or anything. They were pretty much middle-class people. And most of the people that they are relating to at this event are middle-class people. This is not people who are multimillionaires who are going to Tony Robbins kinds of things. Now, I wouldn't doubt that there are some, but the reality is that the people who are there are wanting change, and they're willing to pay for it because they see the value in whatever is going on. Here's what I'm saying about this, is that it's never about the money. What's true here with regard to your friends and family and whoever might say, I would never pay for that, is they wouldn't pay for you. They wouldn't pay for me. They wouldn't pay Tony Robbins $128 per session. Even as many stories of breakthrough and a household name and everything else, the reality is, as great of people as they are, they don't want change and they're content with where they are. And in 5 years, that might change. But it's very possible that most people are going that live in that realm that say that. It is a value question. It is about how much pain that you are in life. And you know what? They're willing to tolerate the life that they have. They're willing to tolerate a fraction of the intimacy that they should be having in their relationship with their wife or with their kids. They're willing to tolerate working a 40-hour week or a 50-hour week for somebody else and not living into their dreams. And here's what I'll say about all those people. You shouldn't be listening to them because they are not your ideal client. You got to quit allowing people to speak into your destiny that do not see value and worth in you. I feel this really strongly coming over me, and I'm going to say it again. You have got to quit allowing your destiny, your dream in your heart, what you are here on the planet, to be submitted to people who are content where they are in their life. You have got to quit allowing your dreams to be trampled on and your worth and value to be spoken into by people who would not pay you what you are worth. It's not okay anymore. Now, it does not mean that we can't stay in relationship with people and love people who are content where they are. But if you're going to walk in a new place, you have got to relate to people who relate to you differently when it comes to these things. The people who lived into their dreams and did something differently obviously had to deal with the fact that they're probably going to be thought of as crazy or lazy or too optimistic or whatever. Listen, everybody who changed the world were probably thought of in the very beginning as somebody a little bit unrealistic and living up in the clouds. And you know what? When you start living up in the clouds, here's what's true. It's rare air. You can breathe up there, and you're going to start relating to people who actually live into the realm of possibility and start doing things differently. You know, like that for me, I had to start being around people and surrounding myself with people who are ambitious and actually wanted something in life. It was really important to surround myself with those kinds of people. And you cannot allow your value, your worth, your dreams to be submitted to people who don't really value it. You just can't allow those things to speak in you. Watch Shark Tank sometime and think of all the people who have made major sacrifices that had to go out just to get in, to build something or whatever. Imagine if they listened to everybody else who is willing to work a 40 or a 50-hour week for somebody else, and to not go past that realm of security, to not go past the comfort zone. That's a lot of people. And if you're going to bring people out of the comfort zone, then you're going to have to break past your comfort zone. Here's the next thing that I'll really say about that, is that what's also true is the fact is, in many cases, I have assumed. In many cases, the people who are thinking this have never actually asked somebody. What I find in most cases, what is so easy to derail a new coach is that they sit around and they dream about the fear of being rejected and somebody telling them no. Or they might have only talked to one friend or family member, and that's all it took to derail the dream that was on their life. Listen, if you're a coach that wants to help people be the boldest version of themselves, like fill in the blank with a cliche. The boldest version of yourself, the best life, live your best life and everything else. We start with ourselves. And if our dream can be derailed that easily by people, then we're not protecting the dream enough. Most of this is actually coming out of assumption about what people will pay for, what they won't pay for, how much money people have, and everything else. So we make all of these crazy assumptions and we never challenge them. And so the real problem is where we are dreaming, where we're looking. See, in all of these things, we've got to start making a shift. Whatever the narrative is that we're creating, we've got to change it before we can live into a different life. Now, I'm going to give you one last thing that's going to actually help you see where you live. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to come into a place of imagination with me just for a second, okay? Let's imagine that, and this is really good because here's the thing about your imagination. Your imagination can work in your favor. It can help you. Matter of fact, what happens is that what you think about actually becomes your reality. You know that your subconscious can be trained based on what you give your thoughts towards. So if you've ever been like, oh, like you didn't hear from your kid, and then you make up all of this story, like, I don't know why they're not answering their phone. You know, moms were always the funniest about this when we're growing up. I thought you were going to be in a ditch, dead somewhere, like partially submerged underwater, and we'd never find your body. Like, it's crazy how far the imagination can go towards these things, because what ends up happening is that you start with a thought and then your imagination can literally give somebody a heart attack. Like you go into fight or flight response, your blood pressure goes up and all of those other kinds of things, right? Well, this is how powerful the imagination is, to the point that your brain doesn't know the difference between past, present, future, or imagined, or anything else. So what I want to do really quickly is I want us to just imagine a scene really quickly. I want us to imagine that we get in the car, and what I'm going to tell you is tonight we're going to go get clients with you. Just if it helps you, close your eyes, okay? So tonight we're going to go and get you some clients. Tonight's going to be the night you're going to sign all the clients you need to become a six-figure coach this year. So imagine that you get all dressed up, you know, in your favorite outfit, in a way to like meet people and everything else. And let's imagine, this is really important. Let's imagine you get in the car with me and we drive down to like this really nice ballroom, but you're dressed perfectly for it. Okay. You're dressed to the T, and you know, your breath's good, all of those things, hair's perfect that night, all of that stuff. And we drive up and we're about to walk in the door. But right before we walk in the door, because we're still picturing this, right? You're all dressed up. We're about to walk in the door. And I turn to you, and this is what I'm going to say. Inside this door are people who have money to pay for coaching. Everybody who's in here has millions of dollars, and they all have the money to pay for coaching. And I'm going to look you in the eyes, and I'm going to say, listen, everybody who's in this room right now, not only do they have the money to pay for coaching, they are looking for someone to coach them. They just want to meet a coach, and they're ready to sign the dotted line. Like tonight, they are ready to work with a coach. And right now, they're all in this room. Like there's literally hundreds of these people. Like you can take your pick tonight, okay? But let me say one more thing before we go in the door, okay? Because the door's right here, and I'm going to remind you about everybody who's in this room, okay? All these people have millions of dollars, so they got plenty of money. Secondly, they all are they're actually actively looking for a coach, and they're willing to work with you. Like they really want to work with you, okay? And here's the third thing before we go in here, because all you have to do is just basically, you need to go meet them. But here's one thing that you need to know. The only way you're going to have any credibility to work with any of these people is that you have to at least charge $5,000 an hour, or they're not even going to think that you are legit. Like, okay? So I'm going to open up the door, and anybody that you talk to, if they ask you what your rate, you've got to at minimum be $5,000 an hour. Okay. All right. We're going to go in there. There's a couple of hundred people in here all ready to work with you. Okay. And we open up the door, and you enter the room. What are you going to do? Tell me what is coming up. Is there anxiety that's coming up in you when you look around the room and you see all of these people who not only have enough money to coach someone, because what were we talking about before? No one wants to pay me for coaching, but I tell you, no, these people have the money. Money is not an issue. They're actively looking for a coach, but the problem is that you don't feel comfortable charging a minimum of $5,000 an hour. See, what we have to understand is that the real problem is not money. It's not money. The real problem is this right here. This is really what it all comes down to if we're all honest about it. Because if you balk at somebody comes up to you and you know that they're a millionaire and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for a coach. I really want to work with you. What's the first response that gets triggered in you? What is the first thought that comes up in you? If they say, hey, and you're like, well, I only charge about $50 an hour. Oh, man, I really wanted to work with you, but you're only charging $50 an hour. That doesn't sound legit to me. What would make you feel like you could charge? See, here's the thing, is that the coaches who charge 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, or some of the coaches that I know that do a 15-minute phone call and they charge $1,000 or $1,500 per, they're basically charging like essentially $100 per minute to talk to them. The difference between all of them is not where they went to school or how much training they've had or anything else. It is this issue right here. And if we're all honest about it, it's really the core issue of all of these things, is that you find coaches who are low in self-worth. Because why would they allow a family member or a friend to talk them out of their dream? Because a lot of times people will go to you and you will be the go-to person and they will ask for advice. They will ask for counsel. They'll ask you to be a listening ear, and you've never gotten paid for it. Is that our whole lives, in many cases, we have been giving away most of what we provide for free. I mean, let's think about it. The job that you are working in right now, you probably applied for a job and they saw that you read all the minimum requirements, what was going to be required of you every day for the job, and you went there and they picked you as a candidate amongst all of these other people who were applying for the job, right? And then you went and did that job, and some of you are doing things right now that you did not get hired for. You know why? Because you're much more talented than the person that they were actually looking for. You're probably really, really good with employees. You're probably extraordinarily responsible. You're probably not only doing new tasks, but there's probably something that you are adding that's an X factor in the workplace. And here's what I also know is true for probably 99.9% of you, is that you've never had a boss pull you aside and say, you know what? I didn't know you were so great. Can I give you a 25% raise? I realize we're only paying you $20 an hour. We really need to be paying you at least $50 or $60 an hour. I'm sorry that we've disrespected you that way. Can we pay you more? No. What we've done our entire lives is that we have sold ourselves short. And most of you have never been paid what you are worth your entire life. You've been paid for whatever the position paid for, and they would have paid everybody that because they were putting it on a task rather than an individual. So we've been trained in this kind of way, and we've been trained to give away things for free that actually contribute and add value to people. And there's a lot of assumption that comes out of the fact that in many cases we've had experiences where we've been devalued, where people haven't seen our worth or whatever. And what has happened to us is that this worth issue is that when we are in the realm and we are in the circle of people who really could pay for what we have, we take a step back. We will jump out of our skin. If I dropped a lot of coaches into a room with a bunch of millionaires, they would probably go to the bar and have a few drinks, or they would leave the place because they don't feel like they have something to bring. And it's not in the skill set. There is no amount of coaching that I can give you in terms of training that would make you feel any different. It is in the worth realm. And if you don't feel like that you have value and worth to contribute, and you do, but if you feel like you don't, then you will take yourself out of the game every time. And you'll never live into your destiny. And so this belief system just simply is what it is. It's all about worth. It's all about what value you actually see in yourself. And again, I can't train this out of you. You're going to have to take on this thing like a wrecking ball? Because we've already exposed it, right? I mean, the reality is that we know all of this stuff's bogus. We need to take a wrecking ball to it. And we need to establish new beliefs in our lives about ourselves. And here's what that really looks like. Is that transformation means reps. And I'm saying reps because we say reps in a couple of different ways. One is that in a gym, we'll do reps, right? They'll say you're going to do reps, and what is it? It's X amount of things within a particular, like you have sets, and you're like, we're going to do 3 sets of 10 or something like that. Okay, so we're going to use reps, and really what it's going to be, it's an acronym to help you remember what we need to, how we go after changing this. First of all is repetition. Because when it comes to repetition, what do I really mean by that? Is that what we believe and what has been going on in our life is essentially repetition. And like I said earlier, is that most people would rather be right than happy. What it is we live with a bias that whatever has happened in our life, there's a limiting belief that's there. We don't confront the limiting belief. What we look for is for it to be disproven, is for it to be proven over and over again. I'm going to go in there and those people are going to reject me. I'm going to go in there and those people aren't going to like me. Oh, those women are going to be catty. Those guys are going to be this. They're going to all try to be alphas or whatever. And if that's the bias that you go in, you've already rehearsed it. You've already psyched yourself out. You've already created that. That's a rehearsal. It's literally mantras. And you'll hear people say these things over and over again. Well, I can never be happy unless this happens. I've just assumed. Matter of fact, this has actually become a mantra. No one would pay me what I'm worth or whatever. No one values this enough to pay for it. Well, the reality is that people are already doing it. So what does this mean? Is that we're rehearsing something, and you know what? You continue living into it. You know what that means? Is that whatever we've got to go after with regard to our own value and our own worth about ourselves, is that we've got to rehearse different kinds of things. Some of it can be started with affirmations. There's a ton of tools right now, but repetition's the way that we get there. Because the reason why we believe and we act out of the things is because our entire life, something has happened. The more times, not just the experience of what happens is not the thing that actually crushes us. It's what we believe about what's happened in our life. And so what happens is that when something happens to us, our brain's going to make up a story about it really quickly. And whenever we think about whatever has happened to us, we're rehearsing it in our mind. What did I tell you about the brain? The brain thinks that it's actively happening. If I rehearse what my dad told me, what my mom told me, my worst, and what do? We rehearse the worst moments in our life all the time. We just keep reminding us and repeating. And you know what you're doing is you're building a great program and you're creating a lens by which you're going to see your life for the rest of the time. You know what this means? So we've got to quit being undisciplined in our mind. And I want to create repetition about the worth and value that I want. You're going to have to pick a voice that is unshakable in your life. It's got to be a voice that regardless of what you do and regardless of what your performance is that it doesn't change its mind about the value and worth that you carry. It's got to be bigger than you. So it also means that if your dad or your mom or your spouse or whatever could change their opinion about you in a moment's notice or decide that they don't love you anymore or whatever, or that you have less value or worth, it's not an unshakable voice. You're going to have to have a voice that sees in your identity, in the basis of you, in the core of you, sees your value. Because your value is not about what you do, it's about who you are. And we've got to find that voice, and we've got to come into alignment with it. And we can't wait until I'm at my worst moments. I have to rehearse this. I have to create repetition in my life. Emotion. If you think about the times in your life when you had the strongest experiences, when something truly marked you in your life, for better or for worse, it was typically an emotional experience. Let's think about the trauma that's happened in people's lives. It was typically, a lot of cases, it was repetitious, but sometimes it only happened one time. But the emotional threshold, if it was very emotional, then it has a way of marking you creating an imprint in you that you continue to live into. That also means that I need to get excited. I need to get emotional. I mean, even today, when I'm talking about what I'm talking about, you can hear the fact that I believe and I am passionate in the depths of me about what I'm talking. I want so badly for whoever is listening to me to make this turn, to make this change. And it brings strong emotion out of me because I really do believe these things, because I have went through these processes. And some of these processes I'm still going through, because I know that they work, and I know that there's still, like, no one's fully living into their potential, right? Nobody has arrived. Nobody's fully got it together. But when you know that something's in the way, then we understand that the more that I am emotionally engaged in something, the quicker change happens. So repetition, emotion. Here's the third thing. The third thing is that you've got to have a plan. That means that I've got to have a daily action for two things. For one, the belief systems that are going on. What are the things that are controlling me? What are the things that are really driving me? What are the fears? What are making me camp out at that barrier? Because here's the thing, is that if somebody believes something wrong about themselves and they don't have worth and value, they're going to camp out in this place, and they're not going to be able to do the things for their business that they need to do. That's why I'll see some coaches that won't start their business, but they'll go write ebooks. I'll see coaches who won't do the things to start their business, but they'll be tweaking their website for 6 months. I'll see coaches who won't do the things that they need to do for their business, but they'll go back to training over and over again, and they're spending thousands of dollars in training, and they haven't done the first thing that they need to do to get a client. That is a worth issue. There's something that's off. And so a plan means both things. It means I need to have a daily plan to go after this thing, but it also means I have a daily plan for my business, and that I'm going to be willing, I'm going to commit to executing and doing the things that I need to do to actually move myself towards my destiny. I've got to take steps. I can't just simply sit in my head and go after inner healing and go after trauma and go after all of this stuff and never take action, because some people get lost in their healing for their entire life. Some people get lost. Listen, we can take steps forward and move past the barrier while it's also being completely taken out. You know that I can actually take out just a small part of a barrier and actually penetrate it and go through it, and some of the structure about it still be there, and move towards something and still be taking that thing out at exactly the same time. You really can. And we can't wait forever to be able to do this. Listen, I'm just a few years from the half-century mark. Some of you look at me and you don't think that, but man, I'm thinking about my life. I'm thinking about how much time I have. I'm thinking, and I'm not overwhelmed by it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the fact that I'm in really, really good health, and I've still got a long life ahead of me, and I'm still thinking, but I think about it. I'm thinking about, yeah, but the reality is that I have fewer weeks, I have fewer days, I have fewer months, I have less time than I ever have. It's time to make the most of this thing. I can't sit around chasing my tail for the rest of my life, and I can't sit around making excuses in dealing with breakthrough mental issues all the time. I can do these things at the exact same kind of time, and that's what I'm encouraging you to go after these things and to take these steps. Some of the stuff that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, some of you have probably been really, really interested in, and to really get a real handle on what it takes to see people come into a lifestyle of breakthrough really requires advanced skills. And before last week, I'd never even talked about the fact that last December, we launched our advanced skills training. We only are going to be offering it 3 times this year. This is the first time that we're going to be offering it, and literally we're spacing it months apart. You do have to have Bootcamp under your belt, because we feel like you're going to be lost trying to do advanced skills training. But if you've never done Bootcamp, you can actually enroll and watch the Bootcamp videos. For some of you who have already gotten trained and certified, you can actually do Bootcamp for only $95. Knock out the Bootcamp training. That way you can take advantage of this weekend advanced skills training for the certified professional coach certification. What are we going to be really covering during this time? Well, a lot of things that you've probably never heard about before. One is this weekend is going to be 10 plus hours online interactive training where we're going to go to the source of belief systems. Where does this stuff actually come from? And you're going to learn a strategy for how you can help your clients overcome limits and maximize your potential. And we're really talking about all of these different places. Imposter syndrome. You've talked about these things. How do you actually help somebody through this? Bad money beliefs, perfectionism, self-sabotage, lies like I'm not enough, irrational fears, like no one would ever pay me to do what I love. We really show you, first of all, the science behind where do belief systems come from? Where do they originate? And when you know how the science works and also the primary drivers with regard to why people do things, why people don't do things, why do you do the things that you don't want to do, but you don't do the things that you want to do? There's a reason, and you probably aren't in touch with the reason. So what we do as this weekend is progressing, is that we go to the sources of belief and we help you pinpoint where a client's limiting beliefs are. But like I said, I don't think that this has to take forever. I like hacks. I've been a hacker my whole life, not a computer hacker, but I've always thought, why does somebody have to go from A to Z and do every single step? Is there a way to skip some steps? In the sense of, does this really have to take forever? Because everybody always acts like change takes forever. Everybody acts like development has to take forever. Matter of fact, if you think about in your life, the most transformational times in your life usually happened in a moment, usually happened in a weekend, sometimes over just a really short period of time, had major bursts. And you know what? We can grab a hold of these things and learn from them to be able to help people. We're going to show people how to grow in self-worth. We're going to show them how to eliminate procrastination, conquer irrational fears. What we're also going to give you is a formula to unlock maximum potential. Now, all of these things that we're going to be doing throughout the weekend, and what else is included? Well, for one, it's going to be 10 plus hours of live training. Everything is going to be live and online, but we also give you replays, and that right there in and of itself is going to be a $19.95 value. But we're also going to be giving you a lot of tools, because what's going to happen is that we want to give you tools that actually work. I'm going to share with you some of the tools that I've used with my clients. And here's how we progress through the weekend, is that you're going to experience the tools so that you know how to use them, but you're going to get some of your own breakthroughs, some of your own ahas that are going to be progressing as we're progressing through the weekend. And so you're going to know how to use the tool, and you'll have the tool in your possession to be able to help your clients get the breakthroughs that they want. And we'd say that's a $497 value. You're also going to earn a CPC credential when you spend the weekend with us. And not only are you going to be distinguished as a certified professional coach, but we're talking about two really big things. Increased proficiency, that you know what to do to actually help your clients, because most of the issues that people are dealing with, as we've always said, are not how-to issues. There are belief system issues that are standing in the way. That's what the gap is. How-tos are really easy to find. It's the gap between where I am and where I want to be is always a belief system that's in the way. And this is going to make you much more marketable. You know why? Because not only are you going to be able to say what kind of a credential you have, most importantly is that when people are getting breakthrough, they are going to be opening the doors to your business. Referrals are amazing. Cost is only $247. I know it's ridiculously affordable. There's also a 4-pay easy pay plan if you feel like you can't come up with $247 to start. But for those of you, again, who have never done Bootcamp, you do have Bootcamp as a prerequisite. So that means that if you've already gotten trained and certified, hey, just enroll in Bootcamp. You can watch the replays. It's only $95. That way you get that out of the way for the weekend. Okay. Now, for those of you who have never gotten trained and certified, what I would encourage you to do, get in Bootcamp. You have all of those replays. You can go onto our website. I know there's a Bootcamp that's live, about 40 days from now, but you can watch the replays now, get that knocked out so that your certification's out of the way. And if you want to spend the weekend with us live, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be an incredible weekend, and I'm going to encourage you to do it. Let me look at what people are saying on here. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Hey, there's Jen in the room. How's it going, Jen? Welcome. Let's see. There's Marcia. Marcia says hi. Marcia from Trinidad. Welcome, Marcia. Awesome. Who else do I need to say hello to? Tavia. Welcome, Tavia. Aruva's in the house. Welcome, Aruva. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Diane is in here from South Carolina. And Quinny says 5,000 minimum. Whoa, I've been low balling myself. Well, dang. Oh, it's awesome. Rochelle says, I have already decided I'm going to charge $7,000 an hour. All right. Sherry says, when are we going to hit this millionaire? Whenever you're ready. All right. Let's see. Joanna says, is it kind of fake it till you make it? Well, here's what I would say. It's not fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is where we're looking for something to validate our worth. That's what I've always thought fake it till you make it is. You can either do it or you can't, right? And I had something that was always burning in my heart that I felt like I was destined to do and then I could do, but I had to cut through all of the junk that I heard most of my life that kept me in the place where I was. And some people would, who, again, were trying to use wisdom and act like, oh, this is going to take 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or whatever. And I know what they were trying to say, but it's just all hogwash. At the end of the day, I can either do it or I can't, right? And in most cases, all we need is an opportunity to show up in the moment and to do things. And the people who do it, do it. That's really all the difference is. You know, it's really not faking it. You know, after the fact, I get proven right, right? The people who weren't able to do it the first time, they learned whatever they needed to do, and then they proved it later. Because how many people do you know that are millionaires or famous people, actors that did not get their first 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 auditions? Some that were actually discovered really late in life, where they weren't really found and they weren't faking it. They really could have done it the entire time. I mean, that's the thing. That's a real story behind life, is that most people are not discovered. There's not things that are accidentally happening to people. Reality is that we just need an opportunity. And sometimes opportunity doesn't knock on the door. I think in most cases, we're out knocking doors and we're creating opportunities. Listen, I've dealt with, in the very beginning, when we started Life Coach Training Institute, because I said that we were going to go fully online with school, that I said that we were going to do coach training on demand. Do you know how many naysayers I heard back then? It hasn't been that long ago. And these people who really believed that you could not do online training because they wanted to be so clinical and sometimes all highfalutin about education. Well, we've seen how all that's gone for the world in general, for higher education, for public schools, for everything. Is that we have incredible learning and we have incredible growth in learning every day that's happening online. And the people who did not move towards those things are completely out of business because they wanted to live in the places that we were. That's why last year I'm proud of the fact that we were already the largest life coach training school in North America, and we grew by over 30% last year, while other people were having to close their doors. And I'm not proud of the fact that some people had to close their doors or did not have a good year. I just say, man, we've all had this opportunity, but we've seized it. And we created a path. We pioneered a path for a lot of coaches and a lot of trainers and a lot of programs. I'm very proud of that. And we were never faking it until you make it. We were literally saying, we're going to create an opportunity. We see it, we're going to seize it, and we're going to do something that's different. And now we get the accolades, but in the very beginning, no one was really like encouraging it. I want you to know that that's true for everything that you guys are going to pioneer and do. Let's see. Can I go back and see the sessions that I've missed on this? Yeah, if you just go back on our YouTube or go to ilifecoachtraining.com, we have everything really listed very nicely on there. But very easily, if you're on Facebook right now or on YouTube, just go to the main page and you can just go through videos and you can find all the sessions that we've done. But we're going to be parking here for a while. Hey, Cookie's here. Hey, Cookie. Welcome. Bill from Georgia. Great nuggets as always. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Awesome. Hey, do we have any questions before we head out for the day? I'm in a little bit of overtime, and it's really hot in California right now. Like where we're at, like we can't run AC in here while we're like doing stuff because it'll bring in a bunch of noise, but it is really hot. So pardon me for my glistening today, but it is pretty hot in here today. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna imagine that we are all doing amazing. Again, I'm just gonna really encourage you. There is a link in the description if you want to get advanced skills training this weekend. I'd welcome you to spend the weekend with us. It's going to be amazing. Listen, as always, thank you so much for allowing me to speak into your life. I'm so honored by that. I so appreciate coaches, the fact that you guys are into growth, into development, that you are teachable, that you're excited about learning and all those other things. And it's very humbling for me to be able to speak into your life. That you'd even give me like 5 minutes of your life is just amazing. Thank you so much for that. So listen, I appreciate you immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.